Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we'll be having a bit of a talk that I've talked about before, but I feel it's just so important we cannot let something like this just slide by. We are what I consider to be the second Gilded Age of America. The idea is the wealth may be at its highest peak, but it's only going to a few individuals. Thus, while, you know, whatever you may be using to represent, this is the American economy, it's not this great thing. It's like something made of lead that's wrapped in gold leaf. It's not really a golden economy. And this is all economy for the last since the 80s, I would say we've been in this situation where we're back in a second gilded age. I'm sorry. The first gilded age, I had to reset my mouse there. I elbowed it a little bit. Let me move that up here. The first gilded age took place after Reconstruction, which was the idea that followed the Civil War of trying to build the country back stronger. It lasted from 1865 to 1877 when it was officially ended. Um, but essentially, what happens here is right around the end of Reconstruction, we have the start of the first Gilded Age. Um, you have companies like Standard Oil or American Steel, run by people like Rockefeller, Carnegie, and you had others, Vanderbilt, Morgan. A lot of the corporate barons we know of today. Shoot, there's still some of it that hold their name, but there's places that still hold their name. If you ever went banking with J.P. Morgan Chase, yeah, the J.P. Morgan was the robber baron of banking during the first Gilded Age. And he was extraordinarily rich. In fact, at the time when the U.S. was in danger of struggling with its debt and stuff, he basically paid it off for him. The guy was so rich. There should not be individuals like that, that they have more monetary power than a country. There should not be people like that. But as I was saying, there's places that have their names on it. Vanderbilt University. Also, I believe the Biltmore Manor was named for Vanderbilt. I'll have to check into that. But yeah, it's a famous manor in East North Carolina. No, West North Carolina. I've been to it once. It's an interesting place. Um, but yeah, then there's even some that say, which I would include this. You also think of the 1910s and 20s as Gilded Age as well, because you have a lot of corruption going on. And we hit 1929 and the stock market crash. Although many would argue that in the start of the 1900s, you have the Progressive Era, which history's never that easily broken down. They probably overlapped a bit, but yeah, we're essentially in a new Gilded Era where, oh, the economy's booming. Only for a few people, though. So, yeah. Um, and one of the big problems is these companies, what they have gone through to try to um, control industry. We all have heard the term monopoly. There's even a game based off, you know, the effect, um, which is just buying up territory and making money from it. It's essentially based off that whole idea. Um, I think it's from like the 1920s or something. The game itself is, but yeah, it's based on the whole Gilded Age, robber barons and stuff. So anyway, actual monopolies, and this is via Wikipedia, is a word that is Greek in its origins, um, which means single to self. So, in essentiality, it's a company that controls the majority of an industry. Think um, monop. Let's see, what would be a good monopoly to list? Usually, most of your industries are owned by what's also called trusts, which is two, three, four businesses that control almost all of an industry. And they try to not so much compete with each other so they can all make money, which is a, if you hear many people talk, that's against the whole idea of capitalism in the first place. But yeah, in the entertainment business, I usually cite Disney as being a entertainment monopoly. But yeah, it basically shuts down other businesses doing the same thing for its personal control. Or if there's a trust, they kind of like, you make money, I make money. No one else needs to get involved. But yeah, um, well, there we go. This is from wallstreetmojo.com. It gives 8 examples of monopolies in real life. Example 1, the railways. Um, the government provides public services like railways, hence they are monopolist because new partners or privately held companies are not allowed to run railways. So, however, the price of the tickets are reasonable. So most people can use it for public transport, which is an idea of a monopoly being used for good when they actually, make things affordable, work for the people. Another example of a monopoly they give, Luxottica, a company that owns all the major brands of sunglasses and is also bought almost all the major eyewear brands. So all your eyewear brands you think of, Ray-Bans and um, it's hard to think of other eyewear brands, but yeah, they're pretty much owned and distributed by Luxottica. They still keep the different names to create an illusion that there is a variety to choose from, but in essentiality, they're all really manufactured by the one company, Luxottica. Says they produce more than 80% of the eyewear worldwide. Another example, Microsoft. Microsoft deals with computer and software manufacturing and holds more than 75% of the market and is the tech space's market leader and a virtual monopolist. So yeah, you think in just the operating systems, Microsoft owns Windows 95, 98, 2000, XP, all these different Windows. The Windows operating system is Microsoft. There are others, Apple, Linux. Those are the only two competitors I can really think of. But then Microsoft also creates a lot of the hardware that goes with the operating system. So yeah, they are one of the biggest monopolies out there. They control most of your computer uh, software setup. Not to mention gaming. They own Xbox. You know, and as we know, Microsoft's buying up all these other game companies. So again, they are very much a computer and software company that is just devastating because they're so big. Number 4, they give AB InBev, which is a company created when Anheuser-Busch and InBev um, actually merged. They distribute over 200 types of alcohol from Budweiser, Corona, Beck's, and while they have different names and different compositions for different tastes and everything, they are all from the same company. Another monopoly that's given is Google. Google, its parent company, Alphabet Inc., I think it is. Think about when you search the web, you Google something. There used to be a ton of other search engines. That's not the case anymore. There used to be Ask Jeeves, Yahoo. Yahoo used to be one of the top there was. Dogpile. There was a lot of search engines. But yeah, Google now uh, controls 70% of the market share uh, in terms of online stuff like that. Um, it also controls other things besides just search engines, maps, Gmail. Um, yeah, 70%. Another monopoly you can think of, uh, patents. well, another issue with monopolies is patents. Which is a legal documentation showing, okay, they have the right to use this for without anyone else imposing on it for a while. They can lend the patent out, but yeah. Um, Often it's used to control Disney. Let's go back to Disney again. They actually went to court to extend copyright protections. Um, because the copyright on Mickey Mouse was running out and he would have gone into the public domain, so anybody could have used his likeness for stuff. But Disney was like, no, we don't want that. They went to court and had the copyright time extended. So copyright is a much longer period now. Another monopoly they have is AT&T. Um, you know, American Telephone and Telegraph. It is the in 1982 it was the sole supplier of telephone services across the US and was violating antitrust laws. Um, because of this, the company was forced to be split into the six subsidiaries called the Baby Bells. Pac Bell, uh, Bell South. I can't remember them all, but yeah, stuff like that. Um, and it gives another example of a monopoly: Facebook. When you think of social media, it's Facebook. There were others before Facebook. MySpace. But yeah, Facebook is who you think of when you think social media. Other competitors uh, still struggle. Google Plus, Twitter, they have their own audiences, but it's still nowhere near Facebook. And Facebook also has been purchasing other companies to build its brand. WhatsApp, Oculus Rift. So yeah, it's another example of a monopoly. Um, let's go to openmarketsinstitute.org. Pharmaceuticals. There are monopolies. Um, Lots of the companies and drug makers have been uh, merging and concentrating their power, and it raises the cost of certain drugs. Um, it raises the cost of drugs like digoxin, Darafrim, uh, naloxone, and certain standard vaccines. Um, Pharmacy benefit managers. Um, these are your companies like CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens. There's only so many. I mean, as of the writing of this particular article, it shows CVS owning Caremark, um, Rite Aid owning Envision Medicine, and Express Scripts owning several specialty pharmacies. And like I said, there's also Walgreens out there. I think they purchased many of the Rite Aids around here. I don't know if it was nationally or what, but yeah. Health insurers are covered over by Monopolies. 2015, Aetna announced plans to merge with Humana. Anthem purchased Cigna, and Centene uh, merged with HealthNet. So yeah, leaving three giant companies: Aetna, Humana, Anthem, Cigna, and United Health Group, as being some of the strongest. And then there's Blue Cross Blue Shield, which owns several companies on its own. Um, but yeah, appliances. It's showing. When Whirlpool took over Maytag in 2006, it ended up gaining control of 50 to 80% of U.S. sales of washing machines, dryers, and dishwashers, and very strong position in refrigerators. Uh, that also gave them control of groups like Jennair, Amana, Magic Chef, Admiral, KitchenAid brands, and uh, gave them a huge domination over the supplies for Sears Kenmore. Athletic shoes. Nike imports up to 86% of certain shoe types in the U.S. for basketball, for instance, and more than half of many others. Um, its two main rivals are Adidas and Reebok, who in 2005 merged. So yeah, Nike's a huge monopoly. Defense contractors. 1993, the consolidation reduced the number of large defense firms from 107 to 5. And you think of companies like Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, uh, Halliburton. I'm trying to think of who the other one was. But yeah, those are your defense contract companies. Uh, Books. Amazon sells 70% or 74% of all ebooks online and sells 64% of all print books sold online. Alcohol. Suntory's purchase of Beam in 2014 consolidated the global spirits industry into three main companies, including Diageo and Pernod Ricard. Drugstores. We talked about this on the other website, but yeah, here we go. Drugstores. No, it was actually on this one. Pharmacy benefit manager drugstores. I wonder what the difference is then. Um, Okay, whatever. Um, Pharmacy benefit managers, it says, oversee the sale and administration of drugs. Um, Drug stores. Okay, this is where it lists Walgreens. CVS controls 58% of drugstores. Walgreens controls 31%, and Rite Aid 10%. And in 2015, Walgreens proposed to merge with Rite Aid. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing, I guess. So yeah, CVS, Walgreens, those are your two main drugstore companies. Office supplies. The FTC, Federal Trade Commission, successfully blocked the proposed merger of Staples and Office Depot, but there are still but the actual market itself is still concentrated after Office Depot's acquisition of Office Max. Together, the two firms control 69% of the entire office supplies market. So imagine that. If they had merged, uh, they would be one company controlling 69% of your office supplies like staples and pencils and printers and paper and yeah. Eyeglasses. One Italian company, we mentioned this before, Luxottica, um, it controls companies like LensCrafter, Pearl Vision, Sunglass Hut, and Target Optical, among several other outlets. And like I said, it also controls companies that manufacture the eyeglasses. Television advertising. Omnicom controls upwards of 40% of the television advertising dollars in America. The top two agencies control upwards of 70%. Internet advertising. Google and Facebook claiming 64% of all internet ad revenues in 2015. Internet searches. Google controls 64% of all desktop searches and 94% of all global and mobile tablet searches. Semiconductors. Intel controls some 98% of the microprocessor market in servers and about 93% in notebooks. Their biggest competitor was AMD, but Intel had tried to force them out of business. Enterprise software. There are two major companies, Oracle and SAP. LCD glass, liquid crystal display screens. Corning has captured 60% of the business of supplying the glass itself for the LCD screens, even though Asian firms dominate the manufacture of the actual screens themselves. Vitamin C. There are companies in China that control 100% of the market for U.S. vitamin C, which is also known as ascorbic acid, and which is used in almost all preserved foods, automobile components. Um, Thanks to imports, there are now more competition to sell cars in America than in the 1970s. But American car companies uh, file design patents to ensure that they have the right to sell essential replacement parts for their cars, like grills and taillights. Um, so yeah, the top 10 parts suppliers control 60% of the market for marketing automobile components. Glass bottles. Owens, Illinois sells more than one in every two bottles in the world and has near monopoly over the supply of glass containers in North and South America, Europe, China, and Australia. Bottle caps and pharmaceutical bottles. Owens, Illinois sold its plastic business in 2007 to Wrexham, giving the British firm a dominant position over the international supply of pharmaceutical bottles and bottle caps. Airlines. There are four major carriers left: American, United, Delta, and Southwest. And they control over 80% of the market. There are other smaller carriers, but yeah. Uh, let's see. Railroads. Um, let's see. Currently, seven large railroads control much of the industry. The nation's four largest railroads control 86% of all grain and oilseed traffic, and a single railroad, BNSF, controls 47%. Travel searches. Expedia purchased Travelocity and then Orbitz. And then combined with Priceline, who purchased Kayak, this reduced the number of independent travel search companies to just two. Rental cars. Um, Three corporations now dominate the rental car business. Enterprise, which owns Enterprise, Alamo, and National. Hertz, which owns Hertz, Dollar, and Thrifty. And Avis, which owns Avis and Budget. Mattresses. Uh, Mergers of Sealy and Tempur-Pedic and Serta and Simmons uh, closed more than 60% of the market to just two companies, where a few years ago, no one firm controlled more than 20% of the market. So yeah, and it goes on. Lab equipment, LASIK eye surgery, or LASIK eye lasers, offshore oil services, onshore oil services, contract manufacturing, food services, champagne, cowboy boots, home improvement stores, candy. So yeah, let's see. But yeah, uh, there are a ton. And here comes the important part. We hear a lot of talk of inflation, and there's a bit. There is a bit of inflation. But most of this is caused by these companies being so monopolistic, being one corporation or two or three just owning a service or industry. And this has been shown over and over and over and over. And yet there's some who cry, no, it's inflation. A lot of the inflation is caused by these monopolies. You have to break these companies up. And some people don't like hearing that, but yeah, 2021, we had a record high for corporate profits, the highest since 1950. 71 years. 71 years, people. This is corporate gouging and monopolism. There is little to do with actual market issues like inflation. Most of it's from these companies itself. But yeah, we have record profits. That's where the higher cost and a lot of the goods are coming from. It's not just, oh, it's inflation. No. No, it isn't. Anyway, I'm going to end this episode here. I want to thank y'all for watching. I'll see you all in the next episode. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I will be citing sources in the description below the video. Anyway, until next time. Later.